I'm currently standing at the base of Temple Mount. As a matter of fact, we were just on top of Temple Mount. We were attempting to record, but it's very tense on top of Temple Mount. Just to explain a little bit of the politics of this area and Temple Mount, Israel gave Temple Mount to the Muslims. They have control of Israel, but yet they've given it to the Muslims. They want the Mashiach, the Messiah, to liberate the Israelites. They don't want to do it in their own strength, and so they're waiting for the Mashiach to return and to take back Temple Mount. We were up there trying to record and approached by the Israeli police and the WAF. The WAF are armed Muslim group that is on top of Temple Mount. They are supported by Israeli police, and so we were approached by both at different times asking if we were trying to record up there, and so we've moved to the base of Temple Mount. But I want you to understand a little bit of the politics of this land and what Temple Mount means to the Jewish people, the Christian, the Muslim. And so we're not far from that area, not far from the area where priests would have been offering up sacrifices on the brazen altar, not far from the Holy of Holies that housed the Ark of the Covenant. Not far from the holy place where the menorah, which is the lampstand, and the table of shewbread, and the incense altar were. And Jesus says that if you go to the altar and there you realize that you have aught against your brother, that you have something, your brother has something against you, or that you have something against your brother, that you go first to your brother and make it right. Well, to us in our culture, that doesn't make a lot of sense, because it doesn't make sense according to what the Bible is saying, because in our local culture, we consider an altar a what? A wooden pew in the front of the church. That's what an altar is to us. But Jesus isn't talking about a wooden altar in a church. He's talking about the brazen altar that was on top of Temple Mount. You see, I'll remind you, in past lessons from the land, we've learned that pilgrimage was a great sacrifice and a great cost. We're in the first century where if you don't work, you don't eat. There's no paid time off. From northern Galilee, we're talking about a 7-day journey. So this is a great expense. So what Jesus is saying is, even if you travel all the way from northern Israel in the Dan, Caesarea Philippi area, and you come here to the temple, 7 days it took you to get here, and there you get to the brazen altar, you have your sacrifice in hand that you're about to hand to the priest. He's going to take that sacrifice and offer it up to God for the forgiveness of your sins. There at that moment, if you're asking God for forgiveness, are you forgiving others? If you are expecting God to answer you and grant you forgiveness, the question is, are you willing to grant forgiveness? So Jesus is saying, you know what you need to do? When you realize you're getting ready to offer that sacrifice, and you realize that your brother is angry against you, that there's animosity, that you're angry against your brother, that you leave the gift right there. And you say, wait a minute, I've got to go make something right. Travel all the way back to northern Galilee. Ask your brother to forgive you, and then travel all the way back to the temple, take your sacrifice, and offer it up. You see, Jesus thinks very, very highly of forgiveness, because ultimately he was the forgiveness. He was the Lamb that would forgive the entire world, that would take sin upon his back. And so the question is, are you willing to forgive? Because I'll tell you this, if you're not willing to forgive, why do you think the Father's going to forgive you? We hear later in the Gospels, Jesus tells a story of someone who owed money, and he was put in jail. He was taken captive because of the money he owed. And then he pled with the man he owed money, says, please release me so that I can go get your money. Well, he was released. The man showed mercy and let him out. And then that man who was released went to the people that owed him money. And he took them, and when they couldn't pay, he threw them in prison. So he was just forgiven, but he's not willing to forgive. That's the question. If you want forgiveness, are you willing to forgive? You need to think so much about forgiveness that you're willing to walk 7 days on a journey back to where your brother is, and then walk 7 more days back to the temple, offer the sacrifice, and then walk 7 days home. Have you made things right with your brother?